Homesteader family, welcome back to the journey. Welcome to this edition of the Sunday Monday vlog. Like you saw in the picture, I found an old picture. 22 years later, I was 14 in that photo. 14 years old when I got the goofy hat. I've talked about what means a lot to you, things that you should cherish in life, how a lot of people don't have what they used to have. Because things go to the wayside or they're not that important. For me, this hat has meant a lot to me my whole life, and overall the moves, going to basic training in the Air Force and down in Texas, then to Colorado when I got stationed down in Colorado, to my move to my house in Colorado Springs, to moving on base, to moving to Cotopaxi, to moving to the ranch, and now moving to Arkansas. No matter the circumstance, this is the one thing I have kept, is the goofy Santa hat. This was the last time my family was basically together, and then my family went through a real bad divorce, and I think it was a year and a half later, I moved down to Florida to live with my aunt and uncle because it was a real nasty divorce and stuff. A lot of other things occurred. And then I went through a bunch of stuff in life, and that got me to where I am. But the goofy hat is the thing that keeps me smiling, especially Christmas time. We all know I love Christmas. And there's nothing like walking around. A lot of little old ladies will reach out and they're touch my ears. They're like, what type of ears are these? Because nobody thinks Goofy. But as you see, even Goofy was in the picture. So just want to throw that out there. It's the holiday season. It's coming up. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. No, I didn't do a live or nothing. I know a couple people asked me if I was going to go live for Thanksgiving. If you looked at my post, I had made the turkey the day before Thanksgiving, which was nice because I was able to eat it that evening. And then Thanksgiving, I was out doing fencing. So I was able to come home, have food ready to eat along with the following day. So this past week has been busy, busy, busy. I've got all different news coming in. I don't want to talk about the news yet because it's not solidified. But I might have some big news that I might be able to really get things going on the homestead. I might really, next year, for sure, almost, if all this goes through, I should be living on the homestead. All the mouses will be living on the homestead. You can see they're all over there sleeping and being lazy because I've been rotating. I take 2 in the morning with me because I don't have the fencing done, so I don't want the dogs running out. Explain that hat again, then. What do you mean by that, DT? Explain the hat again, then. But because I don't have the fencing done, I take 2 dogs in the morning, come back for lunch, take 2 dogs in the afternoon. So, of course, I'm still making 2 trips to Homestead, which ends up costing a lot of gas money. And so if I can get moved over there, that's going to be saving a lot of money, more money going into the homestead. Like I said, I don't know exactly. Oh, I've got other news, DT. I'm just saying I can't talk about the breaking news. Well, not breaking. Well, it's breaking news for me, but it's not breaking news for you guys because I haven't broke the news. It's breaking news to me because I learned some stuff. I got a letter from a set of attorneys that I have on one case that's happening. So I got some news going there, but I'm waiting for the email. So until I get the email from the law firm, no, this is over the 3M earplugs. I have talked about that before, that I was the unfortunate one that went to Lackland Air Force Base and was given 3M earplugs when they had defective earplugs. Just so happened to be that bad timing. So I have hearing loss and I have tinnitus. I don't know if I've ever really talked about that. Everybody knows I've talked that I'm VA disability. But I had tinnitus and hearing loss. So I went through a bunch of stuff for that while I was in the military when I got medicaled out. So they had all the records in order to get to the attorneys. So I got a letter from the earplug attorney saying that I'm getting an email with what settlement's going to be and everything like that. So I don't want to divulge anything because I don't know what to divulge because it's not done yet. So until I get the email and I know what's going on, and what tier I'm in, there's all different tiers on compensation payouts that 3M settled with the law firm. You can look it up. It's Squarey Law Firm. Everybody knows that. But yeah, so they finally came to settlement. They're going to be sending me emails soon. I think you should stop doing the seller financing. Better to make a clean break. It's just my opinion. Scott, I hear you. Yeah, yes and no. I mean, I made a little bit of money on top of if I sell outright right now, but the thing is too, it has had a lot of headaches. So I don't want to do owner financing, but with the house in Marshall, I just signed for another owner finance. So I can't change that, but they're giving 50% down. So because they're giving 50% down, it's not that bad. I mean, I'm still owner financing for 10 years to make the payments feasible where they can pay. It's not a lot of interest. It's like $976 a year in interest for next 10 years. So I'll get less than $10,000 in interest. That's if they pay. However, because they gave half down, I have a feeling it's a local family here. So they got family help and stuff like that. So I don't think I'm going to have issues with this family. Yeah, 50%. It was 40,000, Scott. Everybody knows I bought the house and everything like that. So I got 20,000 down, selling it for 40. They're owner finance for 20,000 for 10 years. So at 10 years is like $250 a month that they can afford. They don't have to worry about struggling because the house needs a bunch of work. So that was another thing. They're going to repair the house. They're working on getting a new roof now. They already got a new breaker box and got new wiring started. So if by chance they default and I end up getting the house back, then I got 50% down that stays with me and I get the property back, which I can turn around and resell again if that happens. Hopefully not. This will be the third time with this house. So we'll see if this time's the last time. The acreage at the homestead, I cannot owner finance the acreage on the homestead due to the fact that I have the mortgage against the whole homestead. Even if, like right now, I'm asking $37,500 for each 10-acre property. If somebody buys the 10 acres together, I'll do it for $64,000. Even if somebody gave me cash $64,000, that still doesn't cover my mortgage. So I think I get like $6,000 or $8,000 after paying per acre because the mortgage is across the whole homestead, but I have to pay so many $1,000s per acre to release the acreage I'm selling. That's why I can't owner finance. I can't have the title going to somebody else's name because I've got a lien against it from the bank because of the bank loan, the mortgage. So you don't have to worry about that. The ranch isn't in my name, it's owner finance. However, I did tell his realtor that I would be open to owner finance with some money down to get the ranch sold. So, because he's struggling right now. So I do want to try to help him out because he's still doing his best to make the payments. He's getting later and later making the payments, but I understand his situation, so I'm trying to work with him. So we'll see. But back to the lawyer thing. I'm supposed to get an email. They're going to break down what my case ended up at. I believe possibly 2024. I might see the money. I don't know. I've seen a couple different things that it's going to go all the way out to like 2030. So I might not see any money till 2030. But if that comes through next year, then I'll have breaking news next year for you guys. And if I do get that money, I believe the minimum on it was $10,000. So $10,000, it's not enough to build my house, not enough to do everything, but because I'm using the money from the Marshall house to buy solar and everything and get things started for the shed, if I get that $10,000 minimum, now of course it could be more, but if I just get the minimum that everybody that won their case gets minimum $10,000. So if I just get the basic lowest rate, which is $10,000, then that's an extra $10,000 going into the shed to get me more situated on the homestead. Where all this turns, I do not know. I know that this week the VA reached out to me. I've got to go to the VA this week. It's written down over there. I don't have to remember the dates and times. I have it all written on my dry erase board. But I got to go in again. They did my lab work last week or week before. Now I got to go see the general doctor. They're going to check my neck, my back, all the normal stuff. Nothing ever changes. It just gets worse. That's what they tell me every time. Why? Because as you get older, things get worse. Any damage that happens doesn't normally get better. It gets worse over time. So that's going to be the same thing. They're going to look at everything, tell me it's still deteriorating. Nothing new. I had that coming up. Hung out with Steve, and Steve maxed out my credit cards. Yep, he maxed out my credit card. So I'm back in credit card debt. Because there was Black Friday sale. I maxed out one credit card. He maxed out one of my credit cards. So the credit card he maxed out, he put $5,000 on it and bought my batteries, some of my batteries. I still got to order more. Wiring kits, a battery box thing with bus bars and all different stuff. Don't ask me the solar stuff. I do not know the solar stuff. He bought me a conversion box or converter box or something where you have 4 different lines going in or something. All different stuff for the solar system. I need a lot more, but my credit limit on my credit card is only $5,000. So I could only buy $5,000 worth for Black Friday, which sucks because the flat rate shipping expires tomorrow. So I won't be able to get that again. I'm going to have to pay all the freight fees and all that. And the discounts will be gone tomorrow. So when I buy the rest of the solar, it's going to cost more money. But the people that bought the Marshall house are in the process of wiring the money as of Friday. So it should hit my account like Tuesday or Wednesday. So don't worry. I'm not going to be paying high interest rates. As soon as that money comes through from the Marshall house, I'll be paying the credit cards off. And then on my other credit cards, only like $1,200 limit. That's only 2 credit cards I have. All the other credit cards went into my debt consolidation program that I did years ago. That it ends December of 2024. So as soon as December comes next year, then I'll have an extra $336 a month to spend that's not going out to my debt settlement. They wanted to take all my credit cards, and for anybody that's looking at doing debt settlement, I'm going to recommend something that I think is smart, even though, I get myself into debt. And that is, don't do all your credit cards. They wanted all my credit cards. And I said, no, I'm keeping these 2 credit cards because they're with USAA. USAA is the military bank that I use. Car insurance, my banking, everything. Because I kept 2 of my credit cards and I didn't send them all to the debt consolidation, I still paid high interest on my USAA credit cards. It's like 27% interest. But because I paid them down, and then earlier this year, as everybody knows, I finally got out credit card debt, those 2 credit cards. That's been working on my credit. Where if you give all your credit cards over to the debt consolidation, you're not doing nothing the whole time you're in the debt consolidation program to rebuild credit because all your cards are gone. So just a little tip, not financial person or whatever, but you might want to consider keeping one or two. So my other credit card that I use, Tractor Supply had my boots on sale for $30 less, so I bought 2 pairs of those. And then Home Depot had 1,250 pound scaffolding capacity with platform, trapdoor, all that type of stuff for when I go to build the house. It's going to be easier to stack cinder blocks and concrete bags on the platform because the platform's only like 5 foot tall. I'm 5'7", so it's just lifting to my head basically, just above my shoulders. But to get it on the platform, then climb onto the platform and then set the blocks and stuff like that, rather than trying to walk up a ladder. And if the ladder goes too far or the weight shifts one direction or the other and the ladder goes over, then I'll be more disabled than I am. And I don't want that. So Home Depot had them for, I think, like $143. And they're normally over $300. So that was my Black Friday shopping. There was one thing I really wanted, as Steve kept telling me I'm crazy if I do it, and that was buying a big screen TV. Max, get out the kitchen. Thank you. Walmart has some super deals on big screen TVs. I know I don't need a TV. I got this smaller TV, which is too big according to Steve. Scott said, okay, makes sense. Disabled but lifting cinder blocks. I got to do what I got to do. Welcome, apostate, I think. I do what I got to do. VA already yells at me because they don't want me lifting more than 6 pounds at any given time. They don't want me doing half the stuff I do. But like I told them, I don't have the money to hire people to do stuff, and things got to get done. I'm not going to lay in bed. The VA had me on all different narcotics and pills, and I was sleeping all the time. And that's how I got into the whole homesteading thing, because my neighbor complained that I laid on the couch all day watching movies and playing video games, not doing nothing with my life. It made me get shit. Well, it didn't make me, but told me I had to get chickens in order for him to help me build my original house back in Colorado. So it's either lay on a couch and do nothing, or do what I'm doing. And then, like the VA tells me, if I continue doing what I'm doing, I'm going to be crippled over by 50 and possibly in a wheelchair. So we will see if the VA is right. They could be. They could be wrong. The VA wanted me to take the thing in the arm that they said 1 would solve the problem, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5, and now they're still doing those things in the arm. I don't believe doctors know everything. They could be right, they could not be right. So I look at it this way. I'm 36 now. They told me this when I was 18. No, they told me this when I was 19. 19. 19. They told me this when I was 19. I'd be crippled by 50 if I continued doing what I was doing, because I was doing my lawn care landscaping companies and moving and hauling companies, stuff like that. If I am, I am. But if I can live a good life from 19 years old to 50 years old, well, that's a lot better life than a lot of people that don't get the chance. Babies that don't make it to birth, kids that end in gang violence and stuff in cities, people that get hit by vehicles, plane crashes, boat accidents, you name it. There's a lot of people that don't make it to 50. So if I make it to 50, I'm doing good at that, let alone if I'm not crippled by 50, I'm doing even better. So yeah, I'm going to do what I got to do while I had this little bit of time with my life, because that's all you have is this little bit of time of life. 7X's, well said. I appreciate it, 7X's. So, what's coming up this following week? Or what did I finish doing this week? Did Black Friday shopping online. I didn't go nowhere. Sat on the couch, watching TV, taking it easy. I did fencing. I've been cutting brush. Making the brush fence. I had a couple people ask me on here, and I just had my FedEx lady ask me about my brush pile fencing. So she's like, she brought a package to Steve, and she asked me, she said, "You do such beautiful work on fencing. Why do you cover your fences with brush piles?" So for those of you that have asked that question, or those of you that are curious about that question, for those of you that are wondering, there's multiple reasons why I'm doing the brush pile fencing. There's not just one, there's not just 2 or 3 or 4, there's a whole bunch of them. So I'm going to go through lists for everybody. I didn't tell her, but if she ends up watching this video, then she'll know all the reasons I gave her a handful. Okay, the brush pile fencing. I'm stacking 4 or 5 feet high. So when the sun is on this side, the animals lay against the fence. Why? Because it's a whole line of shade. When there's no trees or anything, the sun's shining on them and they're baking. They have the tarp things that I made. Eventually, when I have the money, I'll build them a proper barn. But shade, that's number one. If it's really windy, that wind hits the brush pile, goes up and over the fence. The animals lay against the fence. They're not getting hit with all the wind. It's a natural windbreak. 3, privacy. It's harder for people to see through. It's harder to people to get into the property, so you can add security to that along with privacy, because people would have to try to climb over a brush pile, try to get over a fence, so on and so forth. As the brush pile breaks down, it's composting. It's bringing in molds and fungi and making homes for mice and snakes and crickets and snails and slugs. And I've got a groundhog living under one of the brush piles back down Purdom Lane. Birds, you name it. I'm giving a habitat. That's one of the things I think, actually, before I curtail and go sideways from that, I'll finish talking about it. With the brush pile, summertime, the sun bakes the ground. But with that brush pile, if you've ever seen a brush pile in the woods, the ground is always moist and wet. So there's moisture held on the homestead underneath that brush pile. It's giving earthworms and all that stuff something to live in that's not being cooked, and they have to go deeper down in the ground. It's loosening the soil up. As vines grow around it, it's going to naturally become more moisture bound than just having the dry brush pile. Once it's a living organism like hedges are hardier than just dead wood just laying there to burn. And there was one other thing I can't think of right now. But to go off the side topic, like I was getting ready to do, is one of the things we do on this planet, and I'm not one of these California people that are green this, green that, the electric cars and all that, because I don't agree with half that stuff either. However, I will tell you all my DeWalt cordless power tools are good. Why? Because I don't have power out there. If I had power out there, I'd be using power. But everything's good to use when it's needed and how to use it. But we destroy this planet and we take out all these trees. And you can look through people's property that do fencing, because they tear out everything. They put in fencing and you can see as far as you can see until the next set of woods or whatever. Well, all the animals, all the life forms, all of the ecosystem has been destroyed. So part of me I guess this was the last one. Part of me is going for the Scottish, Ireland, Wales, stuff like that, where they have all the berms, the hygge culture, all that type of stuff overseas. Because you're making your own ecosystem. And by doing that, I'm tearing out trees, I'm tearing out brush, so I'm disturbing the ecosystem. So by me doing a brush pile fence system, I'm giving somewhat of a habitat back. I'm giving shelter to the mice, to the snakes, to the squirrels, to the rabbits, to whatever wants to live in it. That elsewise, when you clear cut everything, there's nothing for them to go anywhere. They have to go a long distance. So at least this way, you saw I have woods. I'm doing a strip of grass to do pasture because I need grass for the animals, and then the fencing with the brush piles. So that's one thing I look at when I go and destroy something. I want to try to not rebuild, but give back to what I destroyed in a way. It's not going to be nowhere close to what it was, but that brush pile is going to have a lot of life. I can't tell you how many baby rabbits were coming out earlier this year. As I was moving it before we got into the colder weather, I can't tell you how many different snakes I pulled out of there. Now, I know a lot of you don't like snakes, but I've had a lot of awesome snakes. I got the green racers, I got coach whips, I got the hognose snakes, DK brown snakes, rat snakes. I've showed different pictures, posted different pictures. So it's not just bad snakes. It's not just bad animals or things like that. As the mice move in, the snakes will move in. It's rebuilding that ecosystem. And you want that ecosystem because as those mice are pooping on the ground and the snakes eat the mice and the snakes poop on the ground and the next thing grows up, grass, weeds, whatever, from the poop, then the next little animals eat it. And then the mushrooms and fungi and everything in the soil with the earthworms all compost everything. So down the brush pile, all the fence or all the trees along the fencing are probably going to start shooting roots underneath the brush pile. Why? It's going to be wet underneath. It's going to be fresh organic compost underneath. It's going to be cooler during the summer than the rest of the ground that gets baked in the sun. So that's just my thought of the fencing. All these California people, so many people so poorly educated about that state. Yep. California is the fourth largest economy in the world. I'm not saying everybody's bad in California, but California does a lot of things I don't agree with, that's for sure. So if you're from California, I have nothing against you. I've got friends that took the thing in the arm. I got friends that voted for who's the president now. I got friends that voted for the president who's facing criminal charges. I talk to whoever. That doesn't bother me. I'm not not from there, but educated. Okay. Well, wherever you're from, like I say, if you're from California, welcome channel. I've got no problem talking to you. We can go back and forth with different topics. Any of my subscribers, I can tell you, if you talk to anybody in chat throughout the different chats and things like that, I talk to people on the phone. Arkansas for 309 years. Oh, you must be an alien like me. Oh, 30 years. Well, see, I'm an alien, so I tell everybody I'm going to live for 200 years. So when you said 309, I just figured you're an alien. Awesome, another Arkansas person. But no, California does. And that's, if you go back in one of my videos and look at where I said the best place to homestead or something like that was California. And that is because everybody has their own mind, their own opinion. Some people think California is the best place to homestead. Some people think Alaska is the best place to homestead. Some people think Florida is the best place to homestead. We all have our own thoughts. And unlike the society we live in today, I don't get butthurt over somebody from California or somebody from Texas or New York or Massachusetts, unless they're a masshole like one of my subscribers that came out to visit. But we all gotta stop being the crabs in the bucket, pulling each other down, and just listen to people like we used to. I remember back when my family was together, they had neighbors that came down, and being kids, you listen to adult conversations, and they didn't believe in the same president or whoever they were voting for back then and things like that. But they were still friends. They didn't excommunicate because you're not this or you're not that. So yes, California gets a bad rep for that, just like if I was on the other side, which I'm not on either side because I don't play that game. But if I was on the California thinking side of what people think California is, then I would say, oh, Texas this, Texas that, or Florida this, Florida that. Because it's just every state will flip-flop on who they don't like. Just like in Colorado, people hated Texas drivers. Here in Arkansas, I can tell you hands down the number one, well, two. There's two bad state drivers that I don't like here. You got Missouri and you got Louisiana. The worst, in my opinion. In many ways, it's the best state in the nation. And that's why there's a lot of farming out there. There's different towns in California that has some of the best weather. But that's the thing. Everybody huge agriculture. That's where a lot of our food comes from, is California, along with all the nuts and things like that. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it gets a rep depending on who you talk about, until you want some semblance of freedom. And that's one of the bad things with California, is the lack of freedom there, along with other states that have lack of freedom. Hence why I live in Arkansas. I'm not in Colorado, where not all Colorado is bad. We all know this. Everybody still wants me to make my video about Fremont County, which I'm not going to, because that's just negativity. It's not going to happen. But I can tell you guys, you can look up Fremont County, Colorado, and look at all of the corruption and the morgues that are keeping multiple hundreds and hundreds of bodies and lying to people about their relatives, and sheriffs that did stuff with a storage unit and a possible to somebody. There's a lot of different things. But then again, you can say, look at New York, and New York had a lot of corruptions with the mob and all that type of stuff. Same thing with Chicago. And you can say Texas had all different things. No matter where you go in this world, just like one of my favorite channels is Home Free Alaska. I've talked about them before. And like she said, they've got crazies up there in Alaska. So no matter where you go in this world, you're going to be around crazies. You're not going to jive with everybody, because not everybody's going to jive with you. There's people that like me. There's people that hate me and despise me. It's a fact of life. If everybody liked everybody, then the world would be at peace. That's not the case. It will never happen. And I will say, Alaska's been where my heart has been beating for a long, long time. And I've never gone to Alaska. And I'll tell you, Home Free Alaska has given me reasons not to go to Alaska. Is because it's been minus 18 degrees there. Colorado's got snow. Really don't want the snow. They're ate up with mosquitoes all summer. Then they're complaining about no sunlight. Then they're complaining about too much sunlight. They don't complain. They just say it. I just add complain to. But that's the thing. Same thing with California. I wouldn't want to go to California for certain reasons. Same reason why I'm not in any other state. I'm in Arkansas. Because Arkansas has put my heart into a home, except my home needs to be on the homestead, not here in the restaurant. So as soon as I can get to the homestead, then my heart will be at home here in Arkansas. So I saw a couple more comments come through. Many have way more cons. Yep, everything's got pros and cons. That's why over 340,000 more people left California than moved there in the last couple of years. Can't buy a you-know-what in Massachusetts supermarket. 4th largest economy in the world. Yeah, there's negatives and positives to everything. But my positive is I'm going to get bad news from the VA this week. They're going to tell me things are getting worse because they've yet to tell me since 19 years old. They have not told me not once that I'm getting better. Every time I go in there, they're telling me my back and my neck's degrading. As 7X is in here, my masshole from Massachusetts, which I don't like Massachusetts, but I had a buddy come visit. Finally got to meet him in person. For those of you that have been wondering, I've had a couple people ask me, what happened to your visitor? You never said nothing. As you see, 7X is still tuned into this channel, still part of the journey, and still, I don't know, maybe looking at moving to Arkansas. He just hasn't pulled the trigger. Why? I don't know. That's on him. Everybody's got to make their own choices. I wish he would, because we've been talking since, I think, 2017 when he first joined the channel. Oh, somebody just said something YouTube didn't like because the message is now held for review. But we've been talking since 2017. I had no idea what to expect when I met him when he got here. Had no idea what he looked like. Nothing like that. And my grandmother, my mama in Colorado, asked me, she goes, well, did he look like what you thought he looked like? I'm like, I had no idea what he would look like because all we did was chat on here or talk on phone, talk through Facebook, things like that. So, let's see. He says, yeah, buddy, Marion County, here I come. Oh, that was you, 7X, that got your comment blocked. It was me. Apparently, I used a bad word. It was either you or 7X's. You two are on the bad California list. California is coming after you guys. But yeah, so he came out here. It was awesome. He's looking at moving to Marion County, which is next county over from me. Had no idea what he was going to look like. Just had another subscriber down in Georgia. If you're still in here, I'm not saying who's from Georgia, but just text me a selfie the other day. So I got to see another subscriber that I've never seen before. Talked on the phone for hours and hours. Went over different things like in Rome, how they used to stand stones or something in corridors, and they had a fire pit down below, and it ran through the tunnel systems, and that heated the big pools and stuff, the hot spa tubs or whatever for all the Romans to be in, and all the different things with the volcanoes going off and things like that. I'm from Georgia, but it was not me. No, it wasn't you, Scott. It's somebody that's popped in and out through my different live streams, so I don't know if they're in here or not. But so I got a selfie from another subscriber. So it's always awesome to, because I see names for all these years, just like my masshole that since 2017, never seen him, never met him, finally got to meet him after all these years. Because he always procrastinated to come to Colorado, which I guess is a good thing because he wouldn't like Colorado, just like I don't like Colorado anymore. But it's always great seeing new people, new subscribers, making new friends. Like I said, any of you that watch this later on, anybody that's in here now, or anybody in the future that sees this, if you're on one side of the fence and you think I'm on this side of the fence, it don't matter. The fence is chain link. I can still talk through the fence. I can still see you through the fence. I'm not worried about building a brick wall in between us where I never want to see or talk to you again. We can have debates on all different things. I have a lot of religious people here on my channel. Everybody knows I'm not a big religious person. You know, I still talk to everybody. They still talk to me. There's no bad blood. There's a lot of Democrats that I know and talk to. There's a lot of anti-Second Amendment people. There's a lot of pro-Second Amendment. There's a lot of Republicans. There's, like I said, both sides. They all have pros. They all have cons. And I talk to everybody. I like Colorado. I just don't like what the culture turned into. Yep. Colorado didn't have the flies. Didn't have the ticks. Didn't have the humidity. Colorado was great minus everything that was happening. And like I said, was great hanging out with Steve too. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed hanging out with Steve since you hung out with Steve more than you hung out with me, masshole. But yeah, so I mean, Colorado, like I said in the beginning, and I've said before, Fremont County, I had a bunch of issues with Fremont County, but it didn't happen until I went to the Northside Cotopaxi and dealt with horrible people. Now, like I said, I didn't like them, but there's other people that love them. There's people that love me. There's people that despise me. So it's just I was in the bad place at the wrong time or whatever. There you go, 7X's. I wasn't gonna call Steve out for his YouTube name. Because he's never given me permission. But since he said Fringe Recall is Steve, now you know Fringe Recall is him. So you guys can chat back and forth or see when another live stream is on. But with all that said, it's been a great week. I got a bunch of fencing done, got a bunch of things going on the homestead. I'm going to try to concrete some more fence posts to continue fencing. But then they got to set up for at least a week before I do anything. Just clearing brush, stacking my brush piles, getting a lot of deer through the homestead. Saw a nice, pretty buck today. Just trotting right through. I didn't take the dogs today. That's why. The other day, the dogs wanted to go chasing after the deer. But as soon as I know my news, I'll be sharing it with you guys because I'm going to have... Well, it won't happen until next year. So because it's not going to happen until next year, December's nothing's really going to change except the wire's supposed to come through Tuesday or Wednesday. I'll be clearing my credit card. Then my credit card's going back down to Steve yet again to max out again, which I'll be able to clear the credit card again. That will do the $10,000 for my solar system. And then I've got to hire Ricky to come in with the excavator, finish the road up to my house because there's still some stumps and stuff like that he's got to do. I need him to do some pond work. And I'm not sure what else I'm going to have him do. But I'm also going to call my hay lady. I'm going to buy another $1,000 of round bales from her. So that way I'm stacked up for the animals so I don't have to worry about coming out with money in the next couple, well, I say next couple months. I spend $1,000 a month in hay. So it will get me by a month. But that way, I'm starting to be a prepper and bank up my hay instead of waiting until the hay gets down and then give her a call. So couple things might change in December. Not 100% sure. Besides that, it's just going to be cranking out the fencing. Getting the shed cleaned out probably... I want to say either the first or second week of December. I know I've had somebody ask me that if I've started on the shed. No, I haven't. I'm still procrastinating. But until I had the money to get the shed moved and hire the shed company to move the shed, I'm not working on the shed quite yet. I've been working on fencing from Moscow Love coming down Gregory Lane all the way back to my neighbors in the back. And then going over, I'm working now along their other property line, and then it's going to jag up to where I'm going to build the house. The reason I'm doing my change now, I was working on the animal pen. Now I'm changing my fencing because if I'm going to be moved over there, I want fencing between me and them because they have dogs and they have little kids. We all know I got my big old dogs. So I want to get the fencing there and then up and over the top of the mountain where I'm building my house at. So I had that barrier in between us. I'm not going to be able to go all the way down to railroad tracks till later. Also, depending on how everything turns out next year, I am thinking, I've had people ask if I'm going to buy kennels again like I had at the ranch, the 4-lane kennels that I had for the dogs. I do plan to get kennels again, just so that way, temporarily, till I get the house built, the dogs will be able to be in that. But I've got a great idea on what I'm going to build into my house that I'll talk about when I get to the house build. So until then, thank you everybody for joining in, all the chats, the thumbs up, and I hope everybody had a great week, had a great Thanksgiving. I hope everybody has a great upcoming week. And with that, like always, live happy, live free. That's the only way to be. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care.